cutting water and electricity to the city of Gaza to killing innocent Palestinian children in Gaza in the past couple of months. We will show you some of the most horrible and inhumane war crimes committed by the Israeli government from 1948 to the recently Israel-Hamas war. In the Arab-Israeli war, the Israeli soldiers killed roughly 800 Arab civilians and prisoners of war in 24 massacres. Saleh Abdel-Jawad, a Palestinian historian, lists 68 villages in which the indiscriminate killing of prisoners and civilians took place, while no threat was posed to Israeli soldiers. But wait, this is just the tip of the iceberg of this indiscriminate killings of Israel, and there's a whole lot more to come. The Six-Day War was a war during 1967 that was between Israel, which was getting support from Western nations, and numerous Arab nations surrounding Palestine. Gabi Braun, a journalist for Yedioth Ahronoth, an Israeli newspaper, said he witnessed 10 executions of Egyptian prisoners that were first forced to dig their own graves before they were ultimately shot, killed, and thrown in. Israeli historian Uri Milstein stated there were many incidents in the 1967 war in which Egyptian soldiers were killed by Israeli troops after they had raised their hands in surrender. In September 1995, the Egyptian government had discovered 2 shallow mass graves in the Sinai at El Arish, containing the remains of 30 to 60 Egyptian civilian and military prisoners, allegedly shot by Israeli soldiers during the 1967 war. Israel even denied to the killings. In June 2000, Egypt's Al-Wafd newspaper reported that a mass grave was discovered in Ras Seder containing remains of 52 prisoners killed by Israeli paratroopers during the war, who had killed the surrendered unit. The report said that some skulls of the Egyptian soldiers had bullet holes in them, indicating that they were executed using guns. And this isn't the only times Israel didn't show any mercy. In 1982, Israel invaded Lebanon to drive out the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, and the IDF occupied southern Lebanon. Following the siege of Beirut, the PLO forces and their allies negotiated passage from Lebanon with the aid of United States Special Envoy Philip Habib and the protection of international peacekeepers. By expelling the PLO, removing Syrian influence over Lebanon, and installing a pro-Israeli Christian government led by President Bashir Gemayel, Israel sought to sign a treaty which Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin promised would give Israel 40 years of peace. However, after the assassination of Gemayel in September, Israel's position in Beirut became untenable, and the signing of a peace treaty became increasingly unlikely. Outraged by the assassination, Phalangists called for a revenge attack. Bodies of victims of the massacre in the Sabra neighborhood and Shatila refugee camp. On September 16th, the IDF allowed Lebanese militias to enter Beirut's Sabra neighborhood and the adjacent Shatila refugee camp. From approximately 18 Shari on 16 September to 08 Shari on 18 September, the militias carried out a massacre while the IDF had the Palestinian camp surrounded. The IDF had ordered the militias to clear out the fighters of the PLO from Sabra and Shatila as part of a larger Israeli maneuver into western Beirut. As the massacre unfolded, the IDF received reports of atrocities being committed, but did not take any action to stop it. Israeli troops were stationed at the exits of the area to prevent the camp's residents from leaving and, at the request of the militias, fired flares to illuminate Sabra and Shatila through the night. Between 460 and 3,500 civilians, mostly Palestinians and Lebanese Shias, were killed in the massacre. Many of the victims were tortured before they were killed. Women were raped and some victims were skinned alive. Others had limbs chopped off with axes. On October 10, 1990, amid elevated tensions over the Sukkot March, a crowd of Palestinians began throwing rocks at Jewish worshippers at the western wall of the Temple Mount. In response, 40 Israeli border police opened fire with automatic weapons on the Palestinian crowd, killing at least 21 and injuring at least 150. There were no Israeli deaths. In a resolution on October 12th, the UN condemned the violence committed by the Israeli forces and proposed an investigation. Israel rejected the resolution and refused to cooperate with an investigation, failing to get agreement from Israel. Palestinians stated they only threw rocks after being attacked with tear gas and live weapons, in an effort to defend themselves and stop the soldiers. The use of excessive force by the police means that the police are not just corrupted, but has no humanity at all. The weight of the war crimes committed by Israel is so heavy, but seriously, there are so many war crimes committed by Israel that it's not possible to list them all in this 6 minutes video. So, we would inshallah be posting part 2 of the war crimes committed by Israel series after this one. Our league hopes to see the day of the end of this list, which grows every day, and be sure to help the homeless guy in your neighborhood. And always remember, glow on your darkest moments and shine your bright to the others in the dark.